Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we're going to be covering one of the accomplishments of, in my opinion, the world's best 1v1 raid soloist. She's absolutely insane, crazy skill, crazy knowledge. She recently accomplished a crazy feat, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and it took me a really long time to do this video because it's not typically a format that I do, and but I really wanted to cover it, and there's a lot of depth, but I want to make it entertaining as well. So definitely stay tuned, especially near the end, where we cover her most difficult challenges. So what is a 1v1? A 1v1 is when you use one Pokemon, typically a high-level, maxed out Pokemon that has pretty decent bulk, and as well has the moveset that directly counters the raid boss. In this case, typically a tier 3 raid boss. And there's no relobbying. So basically you're using a Pokemon that has between 150 and 200 HP to take down a raid boss that has 3600 HP. It requires a lot of knowledge, and I'll talk about why it's so difficult. But who is PeggySnail? PeggySnail is part of the Pogo Raids Discord. This is the same Discord that runs a lot of the draft videos, or a lot of the draft tournaments that I cover in my videos. But as the name implies, they originally started with in terms of raid challenges, and they used to keep a leaderboard for speed challenges and whatnot. But PeggySnail, according to what she told me, she said that she first started off by doing what they call unique 72. So you would defeat all 12 tier 3 raid bosses with 72 unique Pokemon. But then people started shifting towards just trying to beat the raid boss with one Pokemon. And then some people took it even further, like Chapo, for example, who I believe doesn't play that much anymore, but one of the pioneers of doing 1v1s. The classic 1v1 was one Lugia versus a Machamp with no weather boost, and that required a lot of precise dodging and really knowledge around the raid. But let's talk about why it's so difficult. A couple reasons. Inherently within the raid itself, dodging is challenging. You have to understand when to dodge, and if you dodge too early, you're going to get hit by the charge move. If you dodge too late, you're going to also get hit by the charge move or the fast move, depending on your situations. Moves have RNG, so it's not predictable like it is in Team Go Rocket. Whenever you face a Team Go Rocket, they're always going to fire off the charge move after X number of fast moves. They're always in raids, there's RNG on whether or not they're going to do a fast move or a charge move. So typically, they're based on the research, they'll do a charge move 50% of the time when they have the energy available. So for example, for Hyper Beam, they're only going to do a charge move once they have enough energy. And that energy is generated by both them doing a fast move and also the amount of HP they've lost since the last time they did a charge move. So in a raid, they're going to do a charge move still pretty frequently because you're doing a lot of damage to them. Obviously, you have to do, in a 1v1, you have to do 18 times as much HP damage, which allows them to fire off these charge moves really frequently. And when it's a 3-bar move, which is 33 energy each, or a 2-bar move, then they can do back-to-back charge moves. And it becomes really difficult to manage, and you have to be constantly paying attention at all times. It requires a lot of research, like how many fast moves can I do in between a fast move or after a charge move? Can I do a charge move? And we're going to go over some examples of how to do that research. So it requires a lot of research to understand what is the appropriate Pokemon, under what conditions can I actually do this raid. And then as well, tier 3s are rarer than tier 5s. And then there's also a wider variety of tier 3s. So not only in a tier 5, you sometimes have to find the right moveset in order to do the raid challenge. In a tier 3, you not only have to find the Pokemon, you also then have to find the right moveset. So you might go all day and not encounter a tier 3 that has the right raid boss and the right moveset. So those are relative reasons that you can't control, or the last one you probably can't control, or at least you can account for. The other ones are much more unpredictable, and these are Niantic glitches. And these are just a short list. There's things like phantom hits. So I have an example here. This is also okay, right. Let me just do this. Okay, clearly I wasn't. Okay, so you're going to see this Mewtwo here. Her Mewtwo has Psycho Cut, Side Strike, and you're going to see some dodges, and then you'll see all of a sudden, if you take a look there, all of a sudden, huge chunk of her HP was gone, even though there's no charge move. And that's what we call a phantom hit. So very annoying, can come randomly. You might be at near the end of a really great run, a really difficult run, and get hit by a phantom charge move. And those are much more noticeable. You can also get hit by phantom fast moves. Those are not as impactful depending on the raid. Like if there's buffer on this particular raid challenge, then it's not that big a deal. But if you need to dodge every single fast move in order to survive, which is what the upper tier ones require you to do, then it can be very costly. So it can be extremely time consuming. The second one is health rebounds. So let's see, I can go down to here, and we're gonna see if you take a look at the Machamp. Oh, you see that? So right near the end, you'll see that she does a Side Strike. It applies the damage and then unapplies the damage. So if you see, does a Side Strike, all of a sudden unapplies the damage, and that's what we call health rebound. Oh, actually, no, it was probably actually right at the beginning. So as you can see here, the health is rebounded for really no reason. There's probably some like server client timing issues, but those can be very frustrating. There's also energy rebound, rubber banding. When you're clicking the fast move, you might see this when you're doing raids. When you click your fast moves and you see the charge bar charge up right away, and you click on it, it does the charge move, then it shows it again, and you think that you've done like 2 Hydro Pumps back to back. But that's actually not the case. It actually rubber banded. It showed you false energy, allowed you to falsely do the charge move, and then took it away. So really, really frustrating, can be really challenging. Not 1v1s themselves are challenging, but to deal with all the glitches that come with raids makes some of these accomplishments absolutely crazy. So we're going to see an example of how she actually does a 1v1 from like actually showing her hands.
As you can see, as backup, I'm doing another recording of the phone, which is using my friend's phone, stuck between my knees. Hopefully it'll be stable enough. This Raichu has like 3 minutes left on it, so it's going to be one shot. You see my thumb is bloody because I slipped on the ice on my run down here, so that's great. But I think this one has grass knot based on the recommended,
So those are some important things to note, is that if you don't know the movesets ahead of time, you can tell the movesets based off the recommended.
I hope this actually saves, but maybe I'll post this goofy one anyways, just for fun.
Anyways, you're going to see how she does it. First off, she starts off with an empty lobby trick, which a lot of you've seen. Waits for 177 to come. She's using Giratina with Shadow Claw and Shadow Ball. And in this raid, that she just needs to dodge all the grass knots. So as you can see, instead of just spam tapping, because what happens when you load, it buffer. Unlike PvP, for example, it actually buffers the next move. So if you click too quickly, then it will do a Shadow Claw when you really want to dodge.
Oh yeah, of course I get it.
So as you can see here, she needs to balance dodging the charge move, and as you can see, she just dodges it precisely, and then is able to dodge it again. That's why she doesn't actually dodge. She actually doesn't tap when she does the charge moves for another fast move, because she knows that after a charge move is completed. After a charge move is completed, there's a cooldown period, and if she clicks on to load another fast move and another charge move comes in, then she's going to get hit by the grass knot, and then basically the 1v1 is over. So it takes a lot of you basically tap at the pace of the particular fast move, so you're not loading extra ones in. And you have to like, and then there's some other considerations which we'll talk about in a little bit. So let's go over how they determine what is a difficult or an easy 1v1. So basically, I'll include a link in the description to the spreadsheet. It's a very interesting spreadsheet if you're into this or just curious on how they do these calculations. So basically, they put the attacker level, the fast move, charge move, and then they put like the total HP of your attacker. And then, okay. All right. This me navigating through the spreadsheet is not the greatest, but because I put it as a website. But regardless, you're gonna see that then they put the number of charge moves, the number of bars related to charge moves. So Night Slash is a 3-bar move, so they put 3. The type of the minimal viable dodge strategy. So obviously there's just no dodging as an example. That's probably unlikely for most 1v1s. There's dodge special pro. There's also dodge special, which is like dodging just the charge moves at like a non-perfect rate. Then there's dodge special pro, which means that you're dodging basically at the perfect rate. You're doing if you can do a fast move in between, then you can dodge there again, etc., etc. The weather, the average time to win, the average number of potions, and this will just indicate like how likely do you need to heal, the damage done per charge move, etc., etc. And then this all goes up into this WoW quotient here, which will indicate the score. In this case, is 9. And then they have a rubric here that indicates like if you're dodging a 1-bar move, way easier, right? Like way easier than a 2-bar move, because you know that once a 1-bar move comes, it's gonna take a while for another 1-bar move to come again. If it's a 2-bar move, they can do back to back, but they can't do back to back to back, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. As well, they do back to back. You have a little bit of buffer. Same in a 3-bar move is even more challenging. And then dodge all weave is where you're dodging not only all the charge moves but all the fast moves. So that takes a tremendous amount of patience, and that's where you really get all the points, or a lot of the major points. And then dodge all pro is where you're basically dodging perfectly. So if you can get off 2 charge beams, for example, you're always getting off 2 charge beams. If you can get off, a charge move in between, then that's great as well. Because you have to manage. Anyways, there's a number of different things, and we'll go over when we go over the examples. And they show deductions like your HP remaining is greater than 1.5 times the charge move damage received, which means that you had buffer in order to get hit by a charge move. And then if you can do a special pro 50%, which means that you only dodge half the charge moves, or 25%. And then they have a whole bunch of things around the current rotation, like really complex, but a lot of fun if you want to measure like how good is your 1v1 skills. So the challenge that PeggySnail did was originally, this was the challenge on Poké Raids, and this is the hard challenge. This is like the one that you have to be like a legit raider in order to do this. At least a raid challenger, I should say. So the hard challenge was beat all 12 tier 3 raid bosses during the Super Effective Week without reusing any attackers. They have like different rewards that they use PokéNavBot for, and the boss is all 12 unique tier 3s. No weather, no moveset restrictions, and basically use 72 unique Pokemon. And that's pretty challenging. Peggy, being the insane lady that she is, the insane trainer that she is, she decided to do all 12. In this case, I think it's actually 16. I don't know. I think it's actually 16. All 16 using unique 1v1s. So in her proportions are split out into WQs, and that's sort of Pelipper, Pinsir, Onyx, Ferroseed, Alolan Raichu, which you saw the example there. WQ9s are Medicham, Skarmory, Mantine, Piloswine, Cacturne, and Scyther. And then the WQ10s, which become a little bit more difficult, are Azumarill, Porygon, Vaporeon, and then the WQ12s. And these videos are going to show by themselves because they're absolutely insane. Like, they're like really amazing. So I definitely encourage you to watch this video all the way to the end. Aerodactyl and Espeon. And this is, anyways, I'll get to it. I'll get to it when we go to the Espeon. So we're gonna take a look at some of the basic ones first, just so you can get a flavor of what you need to do for these 1v1s. And I sped it up 150 times, so it should be pretty quick. And I put 3 side by side. So we are going to go ahead and take a look at these first ones. So she's using Raikou, Moltres, and Meganium. So Raikou is a really good choice against Pelipper for a few reasons. I don't know what the fast move on the Pelipper is. If it is a flying fast move, then it's a little bit easier. And a flying charge move, in this case, it's actually Blizzard, which actually makes it a little bit harder because Raikou doesn't resist. But Raikou does deal double super effective damage to the Pelipper. And Raikou, one of the probably the highest TDO electric Pokemon. Magnezone would have been a good option too, especially since it is this a Blizzard or Ice Beam? I forget. I'll see it in a little, Blizzard. So 1 bar move, so a little bit easier. And then the second one is Moltres. Pinsir being a bug type Pokemon is weak to fire types move, and Moltres is one of the highest DPS and has like some decent bulkiness to it, so it's able to survive. And this looks like it's Rock Smash. It's very hard to tell the sped up. And the charge move we're going to see in a little bit is Close Combat, which is a 1 bar move, fighting move, no stab, and Moltres does resist it. Extra points for the Shiny Flex. So you can see here that the Raikou was able to beat it with 84 seconds left and was able to hit the Wild Charge before the move went down. And the last Pokemon is Meganium versus Onix, and this is a heavy slam version, which is a 2 bar move, and it's really annoying. Onix is super tanky, but doesn't hit very hard, so you only have to dodge a little bit. And this is a Vine Whip Frenzy Plant variant, so pretty cool. We're gonna take a look at the next set of examples. These start going towards the first 2 are WQ8s, and the second one is WQ9. So the first one is Ferroseed. Ferroseed's kind of a joke, to be honest. That's why she's using a 1528 Infernape with Fire Spin and Blast Burn. Kind of cool. Blast Burn, an example. And then I don't even know what charge move this thing has, but regardless, it's not that interesting. The second one is a classic 1v1. Lots of people like doing these 1v1s, but what makes this 1v1 a little bit more difficult is actually Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is a 3 bar move, so it's super spammy, and as well, I can't tell if it's using Thunder Shock or Spark because it keeps doing. It literally just did 4. Oh my gosh! It just did 4 Thunder Punches in a row. So it takes a lot of patience and a lot of precision in order to do the raid. And the last one is Medicham. It has Ice Punch, which oh man, I love Chandelure. Chandelure with Hex. Hex generates energy very quickly. Shadow Ball is one of the best charge moves in PvP, PvE, and PvP in the game. And as you can see, Ice Punch is a 3 bar move. And because you're hitting the Medicham with so much damage, it just continually does Ice Punches. It probably does Ice Punches more than probably like half the time in the raid because it's always going to have the energy available. This looks like it's counter. It's a little bit hard for me to tell with the time sped up. And as you can see here, a little bit more difficult, a little bit closer, but still very doable. Next up, we're going to take a look at some more WQ9s. And we're going to see Heatran. Heatran's an excellent choice against Skarmory. I think this is Air Slash. I can't tell. It might be Steel Wing, actually. I think it's Steel Wing, actually. And Steel Wing is actually... Heatran's a really good choice against Steel Wing, if it is Steel Wing, because it does double resist, and this is Flash Cannon. Again, Heatran has a really unique fire and steel typing, and as well has more bulk than Moltres, for example. So it's going to be able to take a lot of these hits and not really feel it because it's double resist, and as well really effective dodging. Flash Cannon's a 1 bar move, so it's a little bit more predictable on when the move is going to come, or when it's more so predictable when the move is not coming. So then as well with Fire Spin and Fire Blast. Fire Blast is an awful move, very slow. So as you can see here, this is why she's more careful on Fire Blast because she recognizes that the Fire Blast, if she gets caught up in the middle of a Fire Blast, she might get hit by a Flash Cannon, and that's going to do a lot of damage. And then Magnezone versus Mantine. Mantine, similar to Pelipper, is going to be double resisted, or double weak to it. And this looks like it's Wing Attack. And the last one is Empoleon versus Piloswine. And Empoleon's a really great choice. One, because of its water steel typing, double resists the ice moves. Avalanche is one of the hardest hitting 2-bar charge moves, so you definitely have to be really careful on it, and it's relatively quick, so it's something you'd really have to pay attention to. And using Waterfall is a very slow move. And then along with Hydro Pump, its damage window is very close. Very, very, it does damage almost right away, but it has a very long cooldown period, so you have to be very careful on when you do your Hydro Pumps. So she's making this look easy, but obviously some of these took her like one try, and some took other. The first one is Togekiss versus Cacturne. This Cacturne looks like it has Dark Pulse for sure. I can't tell if it's Feint Attack. I don't do raids as much anymore. But Cacturne is Togekiss is a really great option. Togekiss is by far the tankiest Charm user. And with Charm is very slow. It's not only very slow in PvP, but it's also very slow in raids. So you have to be very precise. Dazzling Gleam is not bad, but this is certainly not an easy one. As you can tell, these are starting to get into WQ10s. Aggron versus Scyther. Aggron does not have that high of attack stat, and this is against Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is a very spammy move, and Scyther, I can't tell. I think it has Air Slash. I can't tell. This is way too fast for me. But with Smackdown Stone Edge, you're dealing double super effective damage to Scyther, but Aggron has like very, very low attack stat. So it's not doing a lot of damage despite it getting Smackdown and Stone Edge deal double super effective damage. The next one is Azumarill. This Azumarill, I can't tell the fast move. I assume it's Rock Smash because I can't see the bubbles. And this is with Play Rough. Venusaur, a good option against Azumarill with Play Rough. But as you can see, she's actually fallen behind in this raid. So she's going to have to be quite aggressive with these Frenzy Plants in order to actually be able to complete this raid. But these Frenzy Plants, Venusaur is a really great option. It has fallen to a little bit to the wayside to other grass users that have not out DPS it, and she actually faints at the same time as she faints a Azumarill. So a super close raid, pretty exciting. The last two, these are WQ10s, I believe. Let's see, the Azumarill was WQ10, which is why it was much closer. The Porygon and Porygon, then Vaporeon, and she's using Dialga against the Porygon. This is a Charge Beam, Hyper Beam variant with a Dragon typing of Dialga. It resists the Charge Beam, and then as well the Steel typing allows it to resist Hyper Beam. And Dialga. You know, it's certainly some people may think it's like from a raid perspective got the short end of the stick because it doesn't have Dragon Tail, it doesn't have Outrage, it just has a Dragon Breath, Draco Meteor, so it's not going to deal the same DPS as a Palkia or Quasar, despite its really great stats. But its Steel typing is absolutely crucial for these type of raids. Steel plus Dragon, two of the best defensive typings in the game, are really great for these challenges. So that's why you'll see a lot of Dialgas in these type of raids. And and as well, Dragon Breath is way easier to dodge with than Dragon Tail. Though Dragon Tail higher EPS and DPS, but you take what you can. And I think she actually even gets hit by a Hyper Beam that has to come back from here. And the Alolan Exeggutor versus Vaporeon. This Vaporeon has Water Gun. That's the only fast move it has. And it has Water Pulse. So Bullet Seed actually charges up not too bad, but it is dealing with a 1-bar charge move when it does Solar Beam. when you do Solar Beam, you leave yourself super vulnerable, but it does an absolute ton of damage. That's why she's always going to do, for the most part, going to do Solar Beam only after the Water Pulse, because she cannot do a Solar Beam and then right after a Water Gun, because there's a decent chance that there's going to be a Water Pulse. So you can see that when she goes up against the Vaporeon with the Lone Zictor, which double resists the Water moves because of its Dragon Grass typing, and she's able to beat it with like a few seconds left. But if she was like a little bit less aggressive, like not as precise with her dodging, then she definitely would have timed out. So really, really, really challenging. The next one I want to show you is, I'm not going to show the video quite yet, this is a WQ12 Jirachi versus Aerodactyl. And I'm telling you that there's very few trainers in the world that could successfully do this right now. And this is absolutely really challenging. But we're going to go over some of the research that you might want to do before you tackle this type of challenge. The first one is you have to understand the moveset you're using. In this case, she's using a Jirachi. Jirachi is a steel psychic Pokemon, same as Metagross. Again, that's steel typing. You're going to see a lot in these 1v1 challenges just because steel is so amazing and resists so many things. And then she's using a Charge Beam Doom Desire. The Aerodactyl is a flying rock Pokemon, so it's going to be weak to the Charge Beam, but no stab on the Charge Beam. The only reason is it is super effective and charges up much faster than Confusion, which is the reason why it was selected, even though Confusion's a really, really great fast move in general. And really, the star of the show is Doom Desire. Doom Desire, one of the best charge moves in the game. Really great. The Aerodactyl moves is Rock Throw, Hyper Beam. Rock Throw, one of the newly added moves to Aerodactyl's move pool. Pretty decent move. And then the Hyper Beam obviously takes a really long time to get to. But here's some of the research that you need to know, at least consciously or subconsciously. And for a 1v1 expert like Peggy, she'll know all these things. Is when you take a look at the moves here, you see Charge Beam has a cooldown window of 0.85. That's not necessarily the cooldown window for your Pokemon. The one that you're attacking with is not as important as the damage window is not as important as the cooldown window. The damage window is still very important because if you end up fainting, which shouldn't happen, then you want to be able to do the damage as soon as possible. The cooldown period is the period at which your Pokemon is vulnerable. When you click Charge Beam, it's 1.1 seconds before another Charge Beam can be initiated. And Doom Desire is really amazing because it's only 1.7 seconds for Doom Desire. For a Hyper Beam, it's 3.8 seconds. If you do a Hyper Beam, you're going to leave yourself vulnerable for a very long time. A Draco Meteor leaves you vulnerable for a long time. Solar Beam leaves you vulnerable for a really long time. So you want to, for your moves, you want to know the cooldown period. For the raid boss's move, you need to know both the damage window and the cooldown period. And as well, you need to know that there is a buffer period. It's roughly 2 seconds. There's like some randomization in between when a raid boss can do fast moves and charge moves in between. So there's always a cooldown period after, and you'll notice this despite so Rock Throw, for example, is a 0.9 cooldown period, a 0.5 second damage window. So when the raid boss does a Rock Throw, you can dodge after the 0.5 seconds, and then it will cool down for additional 0.4 seconds plus the 2 seconds. So if you're doing a Rock Throw to another Rock Throw, so that's going to be at the end of the Rock Throw is going to be 0.5 plus 0.4, so 0.4 plus 2 plus another 0.5. So that means a 2.9 second period. It's basically the cooldown period plus 2 seconds. But there's a 2.9 second time period that you can attack. So in that 2.9 seconds, you can look at it and say like, oh, I can do a Doom Desire right after a charge move, right after a fast move is initiated, and I'm going to be able to squeeze that in. And that's very important to know because it's a 3-bar move. And as well, I'll talk about why it's even more important with a 1-bar move. 1-bar move from the raid boss. I'm able to do a Doom Desire And that's very important when a raid is going to be that close. And I'll show you how close it's going to be. While charge beam, you can do 2 charge beams, which is going to be 2.2 seconds, which is less than that 2.9 second period. And as well, it takes 0.5 seconds for the dot. Or when you're dodging, as soon as you dodge, there's a 0.5 second window. That's why you can't do a Doom Desire, charge beam, and then dodge. Maybe in theory you could do that, but that would be absolutely extremely difficult. So you know that you need to know how many charge moves, how many fast moves can you do. So like after a hyper beam, because Doom Desire is a 3-bar move, that's going to be 5.8 seconds. You know that you can probably do like three Doom Desires right after a hyper beam. Not necessarily what I recommended. Before the actually, yeah. Anyways, yeah, 5.8 seconds. You can do like 3 Doom Desires or 2 Doom Desires and a charge beam depending on where you're at with your energy. So these are all very important things to note because it's really going to dictate your pace and how you're going to do it. But let's go ahead and take a look at Pokebattler. So when we take a look at Pokebattler, I've already set these up. So this first one is just dodging charge move. This is the Special Pro. Let me zoom in a little bit. And you'll see in this situation, you encounter deaths, which is not going to be a 1v1, right? So I can't just dodge hyper beams. I need to dodge fast moves as well. So you'll see in this option here, there's the dodge all, weave, and then perfect dodging and whatnot. So let's just try dodge all, weave, realistic dodging. So when we go to realistic dodging, we'll see that we're actually in a worst case scenario, right? Like we're not able to actually do it. So let's go to Dodge Pro. Okay, so when we go to Dodge Pro, we're at the 180 second mark, but we're still like 1/3 of health over. So we go to dodge all weave, and perfect dodging. Okay, great. Our Jirachi survives. But the time to win is 192 seconds in this one simulation. So you actually can't do this raid, even if you're the best 1v1 Pokemon player in the world, every single time. Because there's going to be some RNG related to when the Hyper Beam occurs. You obviously want less Hyper Beams, because even when you dodge, it's still going to apply 20% of the damage of the Hyper Beam. And Hyper Beam is a very strong move, which is going to do a lot of damage. So you have to do somewhere between pro dodging, every fast move and charge move, and perfect dodging, and hope that the RNG is in your favor. So you have to be basically perfect every single time that you do this run in order to accomplish it. So as you can see here, she actually has a very good Jirachi. I think it's like 3265. That's perfect. So I'm just going to show this at regular speed. So at the very beginning of the raid boss always does back-to-back charge moves, and this is the same in gym battles as well. And this may not be that important when you're just going out and doing tier 5s or tier 4s or regular tier 3s, but it's very important when you're doing a 1v1. So as you can see here, she's going to do a bunch of charge moves there, and as you can see, she does this Doom Desire right between, and then she's able to dodge. Does another Doom Desire, and it's just like, it's beautiful. And another Doom Desire. And this is very important when you're doing against Aerodactyl, especially to manage. What I mean by that is there's a degree that you can control the RNG. So you know that the raid boss, whenever it gets to 100 energy, it can do a Hyper Beam. But the thing is that if you keep attacking the raid boss when it's at full energy, it doesn't do more Hyper Beams. It only does more Hyper Beams if you attack it during the period which is charging up. So you need to apply this. You need to be aggressive and do this concept that they call overcharging. And what that does is, like, you're trying to do as many charge moves after the raid boss hits 100 energy. So that way, each of your charge moves are not contributing to as many Hyper Beams. And as well, you want to do these Doom Desires as frequently as possible. That's why she's being extremely aggressive on these Doom Desires and charging up. And as you can see here, she knew that the Hyper Beam was coming, so she chose not to fire off the Doom Desire, so that way she could apply the Doom Desires to the next one, and as well not risk getting hit by the hyper beam as well. So as you can see, and you basically want to mirror the raid boss. There's certain parameters that are very important. One is hitting red at 45 seconds. So as you hear, she's 7 seconds ahead, and she's not at red yet, so she's in a good position. But the hyper beam just came, so she's pretty close to red, and she's gonna hit these Doom Desires. And as you can see, she hit red there, and yeah. But yeah, Doom Desire is really amazing. I wish I had multiple Jirachis, because I definitely would want to max one out after seeing this crazy performance. This is something I definitely couldn't do. And we're gonna see another Doom Desire, and she just makes this look super easy. But based off the simulations, this is actually absolutely extremely difficult. This is like a masterful performance. And once you dive into the numbers, if you look at this video, you might not appreciate like how difficult this is. But when you dive into the numbers and you see what's actually happening, how precise she is, she's always charging the appropriate amount, always overcharging, hitting the charge moves in between fast moves, and then dodging appropriately is absolutely brilliant. So excellent job. The last one I want to show is Espeon, and I'm gonna go. No, I'm not going to throw all these numbers again. I'm just going to go over to her Reddit post that she did. So I'm just going to read through this Reddit post. And this is the world's first Espeon 1v1. And Espeon, this is actually an extremely difficult raid. This is actually one of the toughest out there. So the raid boss's moves was Zen Headbutt, Future Sight. Zen Headbutt is easier than Confusion, and then Future Sight is a 1-bar move. The moveset she chose to go with was Darkrai with Snarl and Shadow Ball. And actually, I don't even think Darkrai is necessarily the best Pokemon to do this with. It's like debatable if Tyranitar, because it's tankier, deals less DPS, but it's pretty close. And Snarl generates a lot of energy, and then that ever infamous debate between Shadow Ball and Dark Pulse. In this case, you want to go Shadow Ball because you want every advantage that you can get. Though it's probably pretty close. You can probably do a Dark Pulse. So the immunity to your resistance to Psychic goes a long way. So it does double resist due to its Dark typing from Psychic moves. This is a dodge all weave fight, meaning that in order to defeat the raid boss as a 1v1, a single Pokemon, no fainting, no healing, no relobbying, Darkrai must dodge every fast move and every charge move, fitting as many snarls between Zen Headbutt as the worst case scenario allows. For background, there's a 1.5 second to 2.5 second delay between each move a raid boss does. So that's the RNG associated with that. If a Zenbot has a 1.1 second cooldown and a dodge window of 0.85, that probably says damage window, that gives a minimum 1.1 minus 0.85 plus 1.5 plus 0.85, basically the cooldown period, the 1.1. Plus the delay, 2.6, and Snarl has a 1.1. That means you can fit 2 Snarls in between. And as well, she talks about overcharging. So since the raid boss tops out at 100, if you hit the Shadow Ball fairly late in the Future Sight cycle, it takes a ton of damage but not get any energy as. So this allows, so here's to charge up to 2 Shadow Balls, fire them both at once. I'm not consistently doing that because Snarl just charges Shadow Ball so fast, and partially because I'm a wimp. No, it's definitely not the case. But as you can see, she's applying all these different tactics in order to do this. And this is like, maybe this is me being a soloist nerd. But if you watch this, like, hopefully you can appreciate how spectacular this solo challenge is. And this is one of the best solos that I've ever seen. So as you can see here, again, we talk about how the raid boss does 2 moves back to back right at the beginning. And as you can see here, she fits the 2 snarls in between Zen Headbutts. And she's going to fire off the Shadow Ball. And, oh man, that's like literally the perfect time Shadow Ball. And she's going to fire the Shadow Ball there. and going to be able to dodge another Zen Headbutt. Shadow Ball, this is a slight argument for, well, I think they have the same cooldown period as Dark Pulse, but you have to tank some Zen Headbutts because Shadow Ball takes a really long time to get to, and you cannot wait till Future Sight comes. And because of the immunity tier of Darkrai, the Zen Headbutts don't do that much damage, but you can't continuously take Zen Headbutts and complete the raid. And so she's gonna fire off a Shadow Ball right now, and she's gonna tank one, get off two, dodge, fire off, tank the one, do two snarls, dodge, and just like clockwork. And you know you can get very impatient or very there's some RNG related to the fast moves associated with it, as she's pointed out. And as you see, it's becoming very close. It's more closer in time than it is. And Future Sight is not an easy move to dodge. Future Sight comes very quickly, as a lot of psychic moves do. So it's something that you really have to pay attention to and not get over anxious, and then as well do your charge moves in a very precise period. So she's going to tank this one, do two, and basically you just have to be extremely patient, really understand and notice when. There's a couple ways that you can notice whether or not Future Sight's coming. One, the period, the damage window it takes much longer for a Future Sight to come than a Zen Headbutt. You can also look at the text, and then as well, every time a raid boss attacks, you'll see that there's a yellow flash around the raid boss, and that just indicates the attack window. So she's doing well on time, doing well on HP, and just plugging away. And lots of people have tried this, and this is not very easy to do. And to do this consistently for over the entire time period of the raid is extremely impressive. She just makes it look so easy, but it's certainly far from easy. Here comes the Shadow Ball, and that's a GG. Really well done. Excellent job. I know this video was extremely long. Hopefully, you learned a few things regarding 1v1s, some of the things that you'll need to know and appreciate some of the masterful work by PeggySnail. Definitely, I'm going to include a link to her Twitter. Definitely give her a follow. Subscribe to her channel. I'm going to include a link to her YouTube channel if you really want to appreciate the best 1v1 solo work in the entire world. So thank you for sending me these videos. And if you guys like this video or want to see more videos like this, let me know down in the comment section below. And I will see everyone in the next video.